Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike Kelly. I'm the Chairman of the Board of Adjustment. I welcome you all to our April 13th meeting. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Patty, can you please call the roll?
Board Member Marv Beam.
Here.
Board Member Carol Conry.
Here.
Board Member David Gardella.
Here.
Board Member Tony Gatliff.
Here.
Board Member Mark Mariano.
Here.
Board Member Gerald Wizawati.
Here.
Chair Mike Kelly.
Here.
And Board Member Fred Elia and Vice Chair Jane Mason Goldman were unable to attend.
Thank you, Patty. I want to welcome, even though Patty just did a roll call, I want to welcome Jerry and Mark for filling in today as alternates. This is why we have an alternate program. We created it over 10 years ago here in the city because we want as many board members as possible, not just a quorum issue. Both you guys are pinch hitting tonight. We're thrilled to have you. Mark's our newest alternate. Welcome to both of you. Thank you. At this time, I'd like anybody that is going to be speaking tonight to please rise and let Patty swear you in.
Do you solemnly declare or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in these proceedings is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do. Thank you.
The board members have received a copy of the January 12, 2023 minutes. If there's any questions or any additions, we'll entertain that. Otherwise, we'll take a motion to approve.
Motion.
Mr. B made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, David. Mr. Gardella, all in favor of accepting the minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. I'm going to read for the sake of everyone here rules and procedures that we will follow tonight. I will actually read the variance request first. Then Kyle, as our city manager, will make a staff report. The applicant will then make a statement. We will then open it up for discussion between the board members and the applicant. And then we will vote on a series of criteria and 6 different questions for our city code. We'll go through them one at a time, and we'll vote on each individual ones for our ordinance. At that time, after the 6 criteria questions are answered, I will entertain a motion in a second regarding the vote itself and regarding the variance itself. And Patty will do a roll call vote. I will announce that in my case tonight, I have a conflict of interest. I have filled out a state form because as owner of Kelly Pools, and this being a Kelly Pool application, I will be abstaining in the vote. I'm recusing myself, and per state ordinance, I am required to make that announcement so that everybody understands in advance that I can give information, but I will not vote. Patty, you got it? That's a $50 fine.
I apologize. I thought it was already on site.
Tony, isn't that a 50 or is that a 70?
Sorry, Marshall.
That's in the minutes now, officially. So. Okay, moving right along. Our variance request tonight, number 23-20 at 112 18th Street, Mary Jo Henderson is requesting a variance from section 10-174 regarding setbacks, heights, and widths of swimming pools. Subsection G says that the height of a swimming pool shall be no higher than 18 inches above the crown of the road. Any structure part of a permanently installed in-ground swimming pool or spa shall not be built higher than 24 inches above the pool deck, including raised decks, raised spas, raised pool beams, upper level decks, and raised waterfalls. Auxiliary deck-mounted equipment such as handrails, ladders, grab rails, diving boards, and slides shall not be subject to the height requirements set forth in this section. The request is to install a swimming pool and deck 4 inches above the maximum height above the city crown. At this point, I'll turn it over to Kyle and let him make a staff report and fill us in on why we're here.
Thank you, Chairman. It's Kyle Riefler, City Manager of Bel Air Beach. So we received the permit and application and plans, and we noticed that the elevation was greater than 18 inches from the elevation of the crown of the road. So I sent it on to Al Carrier, PE with Trans Systems, and he reviewed it. He replied, the letter is in the packet. He replied that the applicant is requesting a variance from the following Bel Air Beach City Code, Division 2 Swimming Pools, Section 10-174G. This request is to construct a pool greater than 18 inches above the crown of the road height. The proposed pool deck elevation is 22 inches above the crown of the road. The variance requested for the pool to be 4 inches above the crown of the road. And then he goes and states the section of code.
Is it normal for Al to make a recommendation to approve or deny, or is that mainly informational?
It's mainly information. He's just pointing out that it does not comply with the code.
Okay. Thank you, Kyle. Patty, have we received any correspondence whatsoever regarding this variance?
No, sir.
Okay. At this point, I would like Mary Jo Henderson or a representative to please come to the podium and tell us about your case.
Okay, Mary Jo Henderson, 112 18th Street. Thank you for spending some time this evening to listen to the variance request. Basically, my home with the grade above the street level has a nice elevation, which is certainly very handy during hurricane season. But with this unusual code, I guess I will say it would, I guess, prohibit me from putting the pool in. And the problem is all my neighbors' pools, if I met the code, I would have to lower the pool so low that every time it rained, the mud from all the neighboring yards and their swimming pools would all run into my new pool, which would be quite low. So therefore, that's why I requested the variance. I am just getting over a pretty nasty chest cold, so I'm going to turn it over to Chris to finish speaking on my behalf. So Chris, you want to come up and
Absolutely.
continue with that? Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jo.
Hello, everybody. Chris Arnold with Kelly Pools, and I'll be speaking on behalf of Mary Jo, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to direct it to me or to her. Just like Kyle said, we're requesting a variance for 4 inches of relief. The current code is 18 inches above the crown of the road. If you want to take a look at the plans in that packet, there's some elevations marked on the Kelly Pools plan. Mary Jo's house currently was an original house built at grade. It's not a new construction home. It's not built up higher than the other houses adjacent to her. Her current house is built at 26 inches above the crown of the road. We're going to be doing a step down out of her house to lower that down 4 inches to have the pool deck elevation set at that height. The issue is that 4 inches doesn't sound like too much. However, if we went another 4 inches down to try to satisfy that code, her pool would literally be below her existing grade of her sod, her patios, and she would have an issue with neighboring water coming into her swimming pool. So with that being said, I think you guys might be looking at changing that code down the road. I think we have another one ourselves coming before your board next month, and I think there's been a few in the past too. So I know the other ones have been looked at and been approved because of that same reasoning. So we're just asking for the same, and if there's any questions that I can clarify or answer for you guys, I'll be happy to do so.
Gerald Woodsawani, board member. I'm seeing that the pool is being built adjacent to an addition to the home. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is there a level change up or down step from the current level of the current home onto the addition?
I don't believe so. Mary Jo, is that? No, it's at the same finished floor height as what is currently there, so there's no elevation change, and the pool construction's got nothing to do with that proposed elevation of the new addition.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Carol, Barb, anybody?
Carol Connery, Board of Adjustment. Are there pools on either side right now, sir? Chris?
There is a pool to the west side for sure that I know of, and the other one,
Across the street, two across the street.
there are multiple pools on the
One in the
street.
backyard. The ones that will wind up putting water down into the person's.
The pool to the west is definitely, the house has a pool there, even as the adjacent lot going across there, and I don't believe they have a pool, but their yard elevation is still up at that height, so regardless of whether there's a pool or a patio or sod back there, there's gonna be an issue with water going into her pool since it would be below grade.
And pooling, water would be pooling, which could be a safety issue for mosquitoes and so on.
Yes, I would agree.
Thank you.
Joe Wizawani, board member. I see the house was built in 1996 based on a tax record.
No, 1957 is when the house was built.
Oh, even far up than that thing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
At this point, I'll direct every board member to take out our worksheet, variance request worksheet. I'll wait till everybody has it in front of them. This is our criteria. This is the actual procedure that we're going to follow to review all the questions the applicant has answered. All of these questions are answered in the application specifically, so as we go through these, if you need to review the application, fine. If not, you've read it already, we'll ask for a vote as soon as I get to the end of each question. Okay, if you've got the worksheets in front of you, let's go to question number 1. As it says in bright print, in order to authorize any variance from the provisions of this chapter, the Board of Adjustment shall find that the applicant, number 1, demonstrated that special conditions or unique circumstances exist which are particular to the land, structure, or building involved, and which are not applicable to other structures or buildings in the same zoning district. Yes, the variance is approved. No, the variance is denied. Patty, could you call the roll?
Mr. Beam?
Aye.
Ms. Connery?
Aye.
Mr. Gardella?
Aye.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Mr. Mariano?
Yes.
Mr. Wizawati?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Abstain. Question number 2. As the applicant demonstrated, the variance requested is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. A yes vote, the variance is approved. A no vote, the variance is denied. Patty?
Mr. Beam?
Aye.
Ms. Connery?
Aye.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Mr. Mariano?
Yes.
Mr. Wizawati?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Abstain. Question number 3. As the applicant demonstrated that granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this chapter. The yes vote, the variance is approved. No vote, the variance is denied. Patty?
Mr. Beam?
Aye.
Ms. Connery?
Aye.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Mr. Mariano?
Yes.
Mr. Wizawati?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Abstain. Question number 4. As the applicant demonstrated that the variance requested does not change the use of the property for the use characteristics mandated for District 1 and District 2 in Section 31-51 and 90-254 and Article 4, Division 3 of this chapter. Yes vote, the variance is approved. No vote, the variance is denied. Patty?
Mr. Beam?
Aye.
Ms. Connery?
Aye.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Mr. Mariano,
Yes.
Mr. Wizawati,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Abstain. Question number 5. Will the applicant comply fully with any additional conditions and safeguards which the Board of Adjustment may prescribe, including but not limited to reasonable time limits within which the action for which a variance is required shall commence and/or be completed? A yes vote, the variance is approved. A no vote, the variance is denied. Patty?
Mr. Beam,
Aye.
Ms. Conry,
Aye.
Mr. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff,
Yes.
Mr. Mariano,
Yes.
Mr. Wizawati,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Abstain. Question number 6. Has the applicant demonstrated that the variance requested does not violate any provisions and requirements set forth in Chapter 62 and Chapter 74 of the City Code? A yes vote, the variance is approved. A no vote, the variance is denied. For the information of the board, Kyle, 62 is flood management, or is that 74?
74 is flood management.
That's one of the 2 chapters in our question number 6.
Yeah, 62 I think is utilities.
I'm sorry?
I think
Utilities.
62 is utilities.
Correct. So we're dealing with chapter 64, utilities in our code book, and flood management is 74. Yes vote, the variance is approved. A no vote, the variance is denied. Patty?
Mr. Beam,
Aye.
Ms. Conry,
Aye.
Mr. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff,
Yes.
Mr. Mariano,
Yes.
Mr. Wizawati,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Abstain. Since those are the 6 that we've already reviewed, at this point I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Beam, we have a second by Ms. Conry. Patty, if you'll go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Beam,
Aye.
Ms. Conry,
Aye.
Mr. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff,
Yes.
Mr. Mariano,
Yes.
Mr. Wizawati,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Abstain. On that note, variance number 23-20 for relief of 4 inches above the maximum height in the city code is approved. Is there any other information to come before the board? Any more comments? As Chris just said earlier, we have another variance coming up, same as this situation here at Bel Air Beach, relative to the same code provision. Kyle, at any point, is there going to be a work session to put this thing in the future, or a code revision board put together to review these perhaps?
Yes, I believe at the March work session, I made the request to rehab another code review board, and we're dealing with the building codes and some of the land development code. It was recommended by the attorney that we try to bring in a consultant. So I have contacted a representative that works with FLC, Florida League of Cities, and he did not do that kind of work for exactly what we're looking for, but he made some recommendations, so I'm going to follow up on that. I'm going to try and bring in somebody to work hand in hand with our code review board when reviewing such ordinances.
Terrific. I'll mention to the board members, as I did, I think, at a previous meeting, it stipulates that the Board of Adjustment members cannot serve on any other board in the city, even though that's an ad hoc committee. Is that correct, Kyle?
That was how it was handled last time. I could have the city attorney review that.
Right. Well, even so, the situation took place 2 years ago. Carol and I were both on that board, review board, right, Carol?
Yes, correct.
And we had to formally resign, thank you, from our post here at Board of Adjustment. So both of us had to go through a reappointment process with the city council, and it got real ugly. So, informational only. I will not be going on that, even if it's an ad hoc committee, because there's a lot of real strong people in this city that would like to do that. You could actually attend all the meetings, you just don't vote. Our current mayor, Dave Gaddis, attended every single one of our review board meetings. We had a dozen meetings, didn't we, Patty, give or take? And it went on for months, but there was a lot of input from the public. And just so happened that since the two of us were from the Board of Adjustment, we ended up resigning. So I just suggest you move wisely if you want to get on that committee. Attend and let, isn't there another committee we have here in the city that Citizens Review?
Citizens Advisory Committee.
Wouldn't they also participate, you think, in that? Or would they just advise?
They could participate in some sections of the code, but the attorney recommended that we use the planning and zoning board for the land development sections.
Okay. So this perhaps might come up in the next month or two or a couple months?
I'm hoping in a couple of months, yes.
Okay. Well, at least we're moving in the direction of review, and that's all we can ask for. It was advised back in August when Tony, you had your variance. Lynn Reeves, the previous city manager, said, you guys can do one of two things, go for variance or wait until the city changes its code. And as the applicant tonight, and Tony in the past, and the one coming up in May, they've each chosen to go for variance. So, Mary Jo, thank you very much for your patience through this. It's been a complicated process, but with the approval of the board, we're ready to roll. Kyle, thank you very much for expediting this so we can move forward with this, now that this has been approved.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, I appreciate
If
it.
there's no other,
Thank you.
go ahead.
No, thank you.
Barb?
Yes, I'd like to say, I think it would be wise for everyone on this board to attend as many code reviews meetings that they have. Because I think it's important. We review a lot of these things, and there's a lot of stuff that comes up, and we're familiar with most of it. Plus the fact we have code books we can refer to. So it might be wise for us to attend those meetings and give our input. It might help convince the board to move forward on a code that they may bypass, and that's happened before.
Well, just like this board, we tend to have the same kind of variances come up all the time. For years, it's been the same kind of variances. It's been seawalls. It's been what we call reverse pie lots, where they're waterfront, but they're in the back and they're narrow. It's just, you've got a huge front yard and you've got nothing but 40 or 50 feet in the backyard. Dave Gaddis had the same situation. Frank Ilya had the same situation. This board sees the same kind of variances. So if there's a situation that the city can ride herd on and potentially change the code, it makes life easier for the staff and easier for our board. And I think that's the direction we're headed.
Mike,
Jerry, go ahead.
question. If we attend some of these committees, can we identify ourselves as a board member and then can we make comment?
Yes, you're allowed. The chairman of the board, of that review board, is a council member, has been in the past, Kyle. And he or she can ask, once they go around the room and talk to the individual members of that committee, they'll take comments and questions from the rest of the people sitting in the room. The meetings in the past were held in the little assembly room over there on the side, but they got kind of full. So maybe if there's more people attending, Kyle, you end up being here. Kind of like your work sessions. So they're going in a positive direction, that's all we can say. So any board member, like Mark just said, should consider attending any, they're usually held late in the afternoon, I think, 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I think they were doing like 6 maybe.
Oh,
I'd have to
okay.
go back your call.
I thought those meetings were in the afternoon, but
Yeah.
it'll be whatever the committee really,
Yeah, whatever works.
yeah.
Yep.
We notify them. Sounds good.
All right, with no further business, we stand adjourned.